Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dissenter Weekly for April 21st. I'm your host, Kevin Gosztola, the curator and editor of the Dissenter newsletter. If you're watching this on Monday, April 21st, thanks for supporting this podcast. It's a way to fund the independent journalism that I do on whistleblowers, journalism, attacks on journalists, as well as government secrecy. If you're getting this on Wednesday, April 23rd, thank you as well. But please take a moment to consider subscribing to this podcast because we need your support for the journalism that is essential in this moment on these attacks on freedom of the press, on whistleblowers, and all the widespread efforts of the present administration and the US government to hide records from the public that are in the public interest that shouldn't be kept secret. A lot of criminality is going hidden, a lot of abuses of power are being kept from us, and we deserve to know the truth. Go to thedissenter.org/donate, and there you can support the show, but also go to thedissenter.org and you can subscribe to this weekly podcast, or you can subscribe to the newsletter and help continue this independent journalism. Without further ado, this might be a little bit of a shorter edition of the podcast, but I have headlines for you. And the first is Israeli military strike kills photojournalist Fatima Hassouna in Gaza. The Israeli military, armed by the United States, killed 25-year-old Palestinian photojournalist Fatima Hassouna when they bombed her family home. She was known for documenting Palestinian lives during the war, especially Palestinian women. And recently, Fatima had learned that her work would be screened at the Cannes Film Festival. She was killed along with 10 members of her family, including her pregnant sister. Fatima had declared on her Instagram, quote, "If I die, I want a loud death, a death that the world will hear, an impact that will remain through time. Our father sustained life-threatening injuries and our mother was moderately wounded," Fatima's brother shared. Fatima got engaged last January. Her wedding was scheduled to take place just in a week. Another thing that Fatima had posted was that she was happy her photos were still going around to many places and being sold. Quote, "Maybe my photos will live longer than I do, and that's what makes me feel at peace." At this point, over 220 Palestinian journalists have been killed by Israel since October 7th, 2023. Next, the Trump White House excludes newswire services from the press pool, having lost in a U.S. court when a district judge appointed by President Donald Trump ruled the Trump White House must grant access to the Associated Press. The White House turned around and excluded all newswire services from the press pool. They seem to believe that this ends any argument that they are engaged in viewpoint discrimination, which would be a violation of the First Amendment and is a violation of the First Amendment, but they are still granting access to various media outlets. So all this does is open them up to allegations of discrimination against the newswire services, like Bloomberg and Reuters, who are now excluded from the press pool along with the AP. While AP won a favorable decision from a U.S. court, the Trump White House immediately appealed that ruling. And so, in a related story, a U.S. judge allowed the Trump White House to exclude these newswire services. So that same judge, Trevor McFadden, heard a request from the Associated Press to intervene and block the Trump White House from excluding these newswire services from the press pool. He said he was inclined to agree with the government that the new policy was, quote unquote, facially neutral. So, in other words, that it does not discriminate against news media. Certainly, Bloomberg and Reuters should file a lawsuit because their rights to freedom of the press are now being violated, and the AP must keep fighting too because they deserve access. They still deserve access, like all the other media outlets with access to the Oval Office, Air Force One, etc. It goes back to the decision that was issued by Judge McFadden. If some media are being granted access to the White House and these spaces, then all media deserves a fair and impartial process to obtain access and be able to do this coverage of the president. Next story, Oklahoma Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin joked about killing American journalists. It was widely covered in the national press, and here's the tail end of the clip. As he was telling the story, he was recounting how a reporter had shot and killed Representative William Talby in 1890, and this is what he had to say.
Now, there's a lot we could say about reporters and the stories they write, but I bet they would write a lot less false stories, as President Trump says, fake news, if we could still handle our differences that way.
Freedom of Information Oklahoma's executive director, Kurt Gwartney, condemned the comment and said, when political leaders joke about violence against those they disagree with or dislike, they demean their elected roles in American public life and the people they represent. And went on to note that journalists in Oklahoma, in the U.S., and across the globe have faced increasing levels of violence and threats of violence for doing their jobs. In 2024, there were 80 assaults on reporters in this country, according to the U.S. Press Freedom Tracker. The organization reports 1,105 attacks since it started keeping count in 2017. Gwartney also wrote that each assault can be viewed as an attack on First Amendment freedoms. Using violence against journalists is an established chapter in the anti-democratic playbook used by politicians across the globe and here at home. After a local newspaper, the Oklahoman, covered what Mullin said, Mullin then attacked that newspaper and insisted that the newspaper needed to learn how to take a joke. The Oklahoman defended its integrity, saying Mullin was, quote, out of touch with the dignity of his office. Moving on, a third Pentagon official was suspended in a crackdown on alleged leaks. The number of officials at the Pentagon placed on administrative leave as part of a sprawling investigation into alleged leaks is now 3. Colin Carroll, the chief of staff to the deputy defense secretary, was suspended on April 16th. In a joint statement from the 3 advisors to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who have now been effectively silenced in their positions, they put out this statement and said that it was incredibly disappointing the manner in which their service at the Department of Defense ended. Unnamed Pentagon officials have slandered our character with baseless attacks on our way out the door. At this time, we still have not been told what exactly we were investigated for, if there is still an active investigation, or if there was even a real investigation of leaks to begin with. End quote. According to an unnamed official who spoke to Politico, officials are investigating the alleged leak of information about military operational plans for the Panama Canal, a second carrier headed to the Red Sea, Elon Musk's controversial visit to the Pentagon to discuss China, and a pause in the collection of intelligence for Ukraine. So all of those examples of alleged leaks that have put people under a microscope within the Pentagon. Moving on to our next story, a whistleblower reveals that Doja may have data that could be used to intimidate labor whistleblowers. Whistleblower Daniel Barulis, who worked in the IT department of the National Labor Relations Board, the National Labor Relations Board, a smaller body that is on the cutting board for Donald Trump and his administration. This whistleblower submitted a disclosure to Congress, and according to NPR, Barulis revealed Doja employees established a process to hide their activities in government systems. Specifically, they set up a quote backdoor in NLRB's case management system to extract huge amounts of data. The data could potentially be used to, quote, intimidate whistleblowers who might speak up about unfair labor practices, and it could sow distrust in the NLRB's independence, according to labor law experts that spoke to NPR. Erie Meyer, who was the chief technology officer of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, another agency that's on the cutting block, said, I am trembling. They can get every piece of whistleblower testimony, every report, everything. This is not good, end quote. Barulis says a printed letter in an envelope was taped to his door, and it included, quote, threatening language, sensitive personal information, and overhead pictures of him walking his dog, according to the cover letter attached to his official disclosure. This is from NPR's reporting on Barulis. Despite this harassment, however, Barulis believes it's important for him to speak out so that citizens of the United States know about the present risks to government data and computer systems. Continuing on, more government employees say that software was installed at their agencies to spy on them, in particular at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. 10 employees from the National Weather Service and its parent agencies, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, and the Commerce Department spoke to the Washington Post. At NOAA, they said that the Trump administration has installed spying software to track NOAA employees' communications in order to stop alleged leaks to the press. NOAA, which the Post says manages fisheries, conducts earth science research, and studies climate change, has already seen major cuts to staff, with 870 employees volunteering for buyouts in the past week. And then finally, we have Trump plotting retaliation against a nonprofit organization over their FOIA litigation, as the Trump administration seeks ways to kneecap nonprofit organizations by denying them their tax-exempt status. He told reporters in the past week that he was, quote, looking at the Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, or CREW, which has filed various lawsuits against his alleged abuses of power and sought records that Trump, Elon Musk, and other high-ranking administration officials are hiding from the public. It's supposed to be a charitable organization, Trump said about CREW. The only charity they had is going after Donald Trump. So we're looking at that. We're looking at a lot of things. That's what Trump said. And the threat comes as a U.S. judge recently granted CREW discovery to uncover information from DOJA about whether it is an agency subject to FOIA or the Federal Records Act. CREW, a longtime watchdog organization, refuses to back down. Good governance groups are the heart of a healthy democracy, said Jordan Libowitz, who is the organization's vice president. We will continue to do our work to ensure Americans have an ethical and accountable government, end quote. And that's the headlines for this week's show. In this last segment, we highlight the case of Cristina Balan, who had a breakthrough in her defamation claim that she has been pursuing for several years against Elon Musk and Tesla. Cristina Balan is a Tesla whistleblower who came forward. She first challenged Tesla internally back in 2014, and she was forced out. They, among other people in the company, were pressured to leave Tesla. And one of the key things she said about Tesla was that there was a design flaw that affected the braking in a Tesla vehicle. And so out there as a whistleblower, she had some litigation, was successful. She managed to break free of the confidentiality agreement that went through the courts. it was ruled that she did not have to abide by it. And so she has her speech, she could speak out. And Elon Musk and Tesla, seeing that they were on the losing end here, according to Cristina Balan, came up with this defamation, that this claim that is defamatory about her stealing money and resources from the company. And so she fought back. She filed this. It has gone through some arbitration and it had been tied in some legal cobwebs, prevailing in this Court of Appeals in California. The case has been sent back to a district court. It will be dismissed. And it is likely that that means that it'll restart the lawsuit entirely and open the door finally for a jury trial in which it's possible that Elon Musk would be called into the courtroom to provide testimony if it proceeds to trial. At least that is what Cristina Bolan hopes to be able to enjoy, a moment in which Elon Musk has to face the music. But let's hear what she had to say. She went on the Times UK's radio, spoke to a correspondent there for this British daily newspaper about this breakthrough, this victory in her appeal.
For the first time in his life, Elon Musk lost an appeal. The same for Tesla. And what I've won, I proved the impossible. That an immigrant woman engineer process, and lately with a bit of my the help of my new lawyer, who's my friend, not just my lawyer, we did it. We actually beat Elon Musk in court. We beat his hundreds of hardcore legal team.
Now I have one more clip, which a little tiny clip that I spliced together here of Cristina Balan speaking about the importance of this case as it relates to freedom of speech or freedom of expression more broadly. These employees that she describes are forced to sign these NDAs or confidentiality agreements, which effectively means that as they bring their internal complaints in the company and are deceptively encouraged to pass along their complaints to Musk, or were 10 or 15 years ago when she was at the company, those complaints are funneled to Elon Musk. They become familiar. The higher ranked executives of the company learn about these employees and their grievances or their issues that they are observing. And rather than dealing with them, they come up with ways to try and snuff out those employees, silence them. And so then when those whistleblowers are out of the company, no longer working for Tesla, they proceed onward in their lives with this agreement hanging over them. That means that they really don't have free speech rights. And here is Cristina Balan speaking about not only the hypocrisy of Elon Musk, but also the vindictive pettiness of him to have this be the way that he suppresses anyone who is a critic of him and the Tesla company, and also his whole network of companies.
This is why I start this lawsuit, to prove my innocence and to prove how vindictive this monster is. He's pure evil. In this, up to now, it's no movie that can paint it exactly how Elon Musk is in real life. He's enjoying hurting people. Like he's getting pleasure for seeing people hurt. He destroys so many people in Tesla that you have no idea, but you don't know about them, because each time, and this is very important, I wish the entire world to find out, each time that you're signing an employment agreement with Tesla and with Musk. And not just with Tesla. Musk is asking this for every single person that he ever worked with, even if it's SpaceX or any other of his companies. He's forcing everybody to give up, and this is the pathetic part, their freedom of speech and the right to sue. The First and Seventh Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Why do you think is that? Because without those, if they will not have the arbitration agreement, the whole smoke and mirrors that he paint around him, it will crumble to pieces. And he's going around the world and lying and faking that is the free speech absolutist when every single person of his team ever on all his companies doesn't have any rights.
So there you have it. That's Christina Balan speaking. We'll follow where this goes next. It's probably going to be in the headlines given the role that Elon Musk plays in President Donald Trump's administration, the outsized role of the way in which he has also spoken about free speech absolutism, as Christina Balan was saying explicitly, and how that is a farce, the idea that he supports this widespread freedom of expression. He is simultaneously involved in widespread crackdowns on the rights of whistleblowers in the government. He has always been an enemy of whistleblowers at the Tesla company. He mocks whistleblowers that come forward from Tesla. I recall in the past several years, he even put together a kind of whistle that people could have, and they could blow it, and it had this shape of like a Cybertruck. And it wasn't because he wanted to encourage people within his company to make the Tesla corporation better. It was because he thought it was funny to have all his little cultish fans go around blowing a whistle and to make fun of people like Cristina Balan who would dare to challenge him. So this is a part of the current and present front in the war on whistleblowers, that Elon Musk is at the top of the chain of command of the government that is waged in these attacks on whistleblowers. And so we need to look to a case like Cristina Bolan to learn about the manner in which he will go about attacking people who are good government employees, who are people of conscience, who are willing to come forward and seek accountability and justice from within the ranks of these agencies that are being decimated, just absolutely gutted by Elon Musk and his agenda. That does it for the Dissenter Weekly. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast. Please take a moment, if you appreciated this episode or any past episodes, to go to the podcasting platform of your choice, wherever you listen to podcasts, and to rate this. Let other people should know about this show. I'm working on trying to expand it. And as I figure out, what to do past the 100th day of Donald Trump's administration with this show, I would like to see it pick up some more traction among a wider audience. So I'm looking to the most loyal fans that I have out there, those of you who are paid subscribers and not, to try and give this some more of a boost. And I thank you, the small group of people out there that are listening to the show. I'm very grateful for your support. Just would like to, all the work that I'm putting into this, get this in front of a few more people. So with that, I wrap up the show, and I hope that you are doing okay out there. And I'll be back next week with another edition of the Dissenter Weekly.